Okay, so on this video, I don't want to yell at you, okay? I know most of the time I can actually yell at you guys, but there's a very big difference between a life of a top learner and a life of someone who is not a top learner. And I have to be very respectful to you guys. I understand there's some of you guys that work so hard each and every single day. You're consistent, you don't sleep, but you don't get the results that you feel like you should be getting. I respect you, but I just want to speak about a life of a top learner, especially for myself when I was still in high school. And I've realized in my life that there was a very big difference when I was a top learner and when I was not a top learner. A life of a top learner is something that a lot of people can't actually handle. And that is why we don't have like the whole class is not top learners, right? Like you might have a few top learners on your class, but not everyone in your class is a top learner. And there's a reason for that. Being a top learner means that at 2 o'clock in the morning, when everyone else is sleeping, when everyone else is tired, you are still awake and you are grinding and you are studying and you get to each and every single details. On question papers, there are questions that even some educators, they don't want to do those questions, right? They don't want to teach you those questions because they are just hard. But a life of a top learner means that you are not afraid of those questions. You go to those questions and you answer them. You go to those questions as uncomfortable as they are, and you sit down with yourself and say, I am not going to sleep tonight if I did not understand this concept. And that is the life of a top learner. The life of a top learner means that you arrive first in class. You have to lead by example. There are these very cool top learners, right? Like these guys are so cool. They're so popular. Most people love them. They get 100% in math. They get 100% in science. They come late in school as well. They do all these sort of things that are not inspiring other people in class to look like them. And at some point in my life, I was that type of a top learner where I just arrived late in school. I refused to be disciplined by the educators, and people just say, Marvel is very cool. Let me tell you something. When you are a top learner, you need to know that you are a leader. Whether you like it or not, that's what you are. You need to live a life that inspires the other learners in classroom. So make sure you're the first person to be in class. I know it's not always realistic because some of you guys are traveling from afar, but just try to make sure that you are not late. Try to make sure that you are that person when there's no educator in class. You say, guys, we need to understand math. We need to understand this topic. How do we do it? A life of a top learner is actually extremely challenging, and one of the traits that you need to have is to be disciplined. You have to be extremely disciplined to remain on top of your class. You must also not to be selfish, right? You need to teach other learners what you feel like they don't understand. And if you see someone struggling in class, just say, hey man, I'm gonna assist you with that so you understand. If you see people that don't respect time, they are wasting time. They spend time whatever way they want. They don't study. They're scrolling there on TikTok. They don't care. If you see someone who's always with their friends, they're always laughing on class, they want to be cool, they don't respect educators. If you see someone who doesn't write their homework and they do all the awful things, it's impossible for you to be a top learner with those traits. There has to be a lifestyle. Being a top learner is a lifestyle. Being a top learner, it's a mindset. And if you want to get 100% on your subjects, you need to start adjusting your mindset. You need to change the way you do things. And once you start to be a leader, once you start to lead by example, once you start to be disciplined, once you start, respecting your time, you will see yourself being a top learner in the eyes of people.